What's up, creators? It's your boy, Mad Mike. And on today's episode, we're gonna be making a custom engine stand for a 440 big block for a 74 Cuda project. So you're gonna wanna stay tuned and check it out. We are back inside the Mad Lab working on our 74 Plymouth Barracuda project. We're turning this into an AAR tribute with a street machine twist. It's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be awesome. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for this build. But on today's episode, we are gonna be working on the 440 big block that we pulled out of a motorhome. Yeah, you heard me. We're putting a 440 out of an RV into the Cuda. And today we're gonna be finishing up, welding up this engine stand so we can plumb it all up, wire it all up, and actually fire it up on the stand so we can get it to run, see how it sounds. And apparently this motor has 30,000 original kilometers on it. Guy that I bought it off of, the old gentleman, swears that this has 30,000 K. That's low kilometers for a 440 big block, so I am super stoked. It's got the transmission on it, 727. Again, it's a 1979, the last year of the big block out of a motorhome, so it's got, you know, a little bit bigger of a cam, and it's got lower horsepower than the earlier like 70, 71 440s. Not a big deal. It's gonna be plenty power for the Cuda project. I really just want this project to look mean and sound mean, and sure, over time we'll start hopping this up with intakes, headers, yada yada yada, but we're gonna be trying to leave this thing bone stock, just get it to fire up and run good, put it inside the Cuda and enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, we've come a long way since picking up this car. Originally we started off with just the shell of the car, and we've added doors, wheels, rear end, leaf springs, interior, K-frame, you name it, disc brakes on the front. So we've come a long way on this build, and this is gonna be awesome inside of this. So let's get into it. Let's finish up welding up this engine stand. I'll kind of show you where I'm at with it, and I'll finally be able to get it off the engine hoist and get some room back in the Mad Lab. So let me just grab this here. As you guys can see here, bam. So this engine stand was supposed to bolt right up, and if you look at the mounts on the back, that's for the back of your block, but I have a transmission on it, so obviously that wasn't gonna work. So the first thing I had to do was chop off the backs of those mounts like that, gave it some clearance, and then I had to add this bar here, piece of L bar, to go crosswise underneath the motor and underneath the oil pan. And on the front side, what I had to do, I just gotta finish up doing some welding on it. This bar here, the spreader bar, wasn't wide enough for the mounts on the 440. So I had to cut a piece of tube, section it in there, and widen it by about 4.5 inches. So now that I got that in there, and our L bar on the back, it's sitting on these blocks here. So I might just leave it the way that that is, because if we go ahead and fire this motor up, once we plumb up a radiator, gauges, and do all of our wiring, it shouldn't rock around too much. It should be pretty stable. I was gonna add some bars to the back and make like a tranny mount, but I don't think it really needs it. It seems to be sitting there pretty good. We'll just finish up this welding here, and we'll drop the engine hoist down, and we'll see if those caster wheels will hold the weight and if we can roll it around. If it seems tippy or a little sketchy, we'll add some more bars with another caster wheel and a mount for our tranny, but I don't think we're gonna need it. Let's get into welding this up. Bada bing, bada boom, guys and girls. We got it all welded up finally. So I think we're ready to drop it down from the engine hoist, and we'll see if the caster wheels will hold this 1,000-pound motor and transmission. One thing I want to try to do before I drop it down, I was looking from the front and the back of the motor, and it's leaning this way here. we'll try to undo that bolt, see if we can shim the motor up just so it's sitting level. So let's jack it up, see if we can get that bolt out and shove some shims underneath there or something.
All right, so I found this big nut. It's about 5/8, 3/4 thick. And I think what I'm gonna do is put this up in here just to space it out. Because on this side of the motor, we needed to level it out that way. So I think by shimming it up with about that much there, that'll give us about 1/2 inch of thread for the nut to still grab onto. So let's go ahead, see if we can get this back in there and shim it up with that big ass nut. As you guys can see there, I just shimmed it up with that big ass nut and should kick the motor over level now. So let's go ahead, finally drop it down, put all the weight of the motor and transmission onto our engine stand and see if it holds the weight and see if it's sitting level. Alrighty, so we finally got all the weight of the motor and the transmission from the 440 big block sitting on the caster wheels. Let's go ahead and fold up the engine hoist, get it out of the way so we get some more room in the Mad Lab, and we'll see if the motor will move around freely on these caster wheels. Well, that worked out just splendid. It's all welded up, it's sitting on the engine stand, it's moving around freely on the caster wheels. It's stable, it doesn't feel tippy. I don't think we're gonna go ahead and add that training mount that I was talking about. I don't think it needs it. I think we're gonna save the steel for other things. And yeah, let's fold up this engine hoist, get it out of the way. Now that we got the engine on the engine stand, I'm gonna go over a couple things that we have for it and what our plans are for it. So I just picked up from the guy that I got the motor from. Luckily, he had all the wiring for the motor. So I'll show you guys this here, kind of dig it all out. So when I picked up this motor, I paid $1,000 for it. He was able to leave some exhaust off the manifolds for me as well too, so I could fire it up and run it. But I didn't know if he had all the wiring for it. I thought that he scrapped the car. He said that he didn't have anything left. But the other day he called me up and he said he had a big box of wiring for me. So that was really helpful because individually buying fuses and, you know, the ECU and ballast resistors and all this stuff, it would have been expensive and time consuming to do that. But him giving me this helps me out huge. So as you can see here, it's got everything you could possibly need on it. The only thing it was missing was I got the ballast resistor, there's the ECU there, was the second box, which was the voltage regulator. So I went and just picked up one today. Cost me a little bit, but these are getting harder and harder to find, I find. So called a bunch of auto parts stores, but I was able to pick one up. So I got my voltage regulator now too, so I pretty much have all the wiring and stuff that we need to get this car wired up in the car. Our plans are to fire this motor up on the stand. So we're basically gonna be adding to this engine stand. We're gonna plumb up a radiator, we're gonna add gauges, and then we're gonna hook up all the wiring with a battery and a jerry can for gas so we can run this engine on the stand, make sure it's all good, maybe clean it up, paint the motor while it's on the stand too. But our big goal is to fire the motor up, see how it sounds, so we get motivated to keep wrenching on this project. Once we fire up this motor, guys,
this car is gonna get pushed out of here for a little bit. We're gonna bring the Fiero Ferrari kit car that we have back into the Mad Lab so we can finish it up and sell it in the springtime, and then we'll be jumping back on to the Cuda project. But before we tuck this one away into storage, I wanna fire this motor up, I wanna get motivated, I wanna see how it sounds, and then we know we got a good motor and we got motivation to finish the Fiero kit car to bring the Cuda back in and keep wrenching on it. So stay tuned because we are gonna be wiring this thing up and firing it up in the next vlog or two. The other thing I have for this was he gave me the snorkel. I don't know if we're gonna be running it or not, but you know what, it's kinda cool. Maybe we'll end up painting it like bright orange or something like that, and we'll have the big scoop that'll cover it up. We might do like an AAR scoop or something different. Comment below what kind of hood scoop you guys think I should run on this car. I do have a rally hood, a steel rally hood, metal fenders, and a whole metal front clip. This front clip right here is just fiberglass, so I don't know if I'm gonna be running this front clip or not. That would look kind of cool though, painted bright orange or a cool bright color. I might do my splatter paint, my mad splatter paint on the engine block and valve covers, kind of give it a little bit of creative touch, because that's what we do here in the Mad Lab. We're super creative, and I want this car to stand out and be like no other Cuda out there. We got some big things planned for this. You guys are gonna be blown away. If you're a diehard Mopar guy, you might be a little offended by what I do to this, so stay tuned because this is gonna be wild. The other thing is, this came into the motorhome, so it's got the fill tubes for the, you know, oil and whatnot. So we're gonna have to be deleting these and getting shorter dipsticks for all these, because that would look kind of funny, you know, checking your oil from your front grille of the Cuda. So I don't think we need that. So we're gonna have to modify a bunch of this stuff. We got a 4-barrel carb on it. I think it's a quadrajet, and everything is here. All the wiring, everything's there. So we just got to basically wire all the wiring back up and hook up a radiator. We got to, oh, I did get some fittings for my cooler lines here. That way I don't spew oil out all over the ground when I go to fire the motor up. But once we cross those lines, wire it all up, plumb a radiator to it, I think we're kind of good to go. See if it goes through gears. It's a 727 transmission, and yeah, I'd love to do a pistol grip 4-speed, but this is what we're gonna be running for now. Yes, we do have the short tail shaft on this. Not a big deal. I got a 9 1/4 rear end that I picked up for this. That's different anyways. Getting a shop to make a custom drive shaft for the Cuda. So we're gonna run this for now, and if we do a 4-speed down the road, if I can afford it or come across a pistol grip 4-speed, then we'll get a new drive shaft made for that and deal with that when we get to it. I cannot wait to fire up the 440 big block. So comment below if you guys have any suggestions on what we should do for our run stand. It doesn't need to be perfect, this stand. I just want it to work so we can fire the motor up. But if you have any good ideas of what we should add to this, or when we go to fire the motor up outside of the car, if there's anything else that I should do or be aware of, I know I'll have this in park and then I can check my gears so that the rear yoke isn't spinning around or whatnot. But if there's anything else that you guys can think of before I can fire this motor up, I've never done it before. I've never fired a motor up outside of a car, so this will be a first. I've seen a lot of videos. It seems pretty easy and basic, especially with these older muscle car motors. They're pretty straightforward with wiring and whatnot, so it shouldn't be a big issue. Well, guys and girls, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.